what I'm wearing right now. Watch your step right here. Okay. So what's the make and model?
Obviously, everyone has their searchlights out looking for evidence, right?
Yes, sir.
And obviously, I think this is something you'd agree with, that you wouldn't have wanted to, and none of you would have wanted to overlook important evidence at the scene of that shooting, right?
Correct.
So it was careful and attentive, and officer, were you a sergeant there as well, or since?
No, sir, I was a police officer 3. I was a training officer.
And then you got promoted.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, as an attentive officer, when performing your duty, you made it obviously a point to be careful and attentive looking for evidence, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, initially you said you thought there were 3 officers at the scene?
Correct, and that was based off of the when my body worn video that we watched.
Right, I understand. No problem. But you agree that there's more now, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. As a matter of fact, there's 7.
Okay.
Well, you don't take my word for it. Let's go to the video. I'll direct your attention to 22:40 and 36 seconds.
We'll stipulate, counsel, if that helps as well, that there were 7.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just want
Okay.
to, so I couldn't peek. So, okay. Okay, do you see, would you agree that 7 officers are at the scene?
I don't dispute that there were 7 officers at scene.
No, I know you don't dispute it, but you would agree that you see 7 officers right there, right? There are 6 in the frame,
Including
the guy wearing the body cam.
Correct, including that one, yes, 7.
7, okay. And everyone, to your knowledge, was doing their job when they were at the scene, correct?
Yes.
Direct your attention to 22:37:03 on that video. That's you on Reese Del Mar on the side of the street closest to the parking lot, right?
Correct.
Okay. And we're looking, by the way, for the record, we're looking south towards Selma Avenue, so you're standing on the west side of the street, right?
Correct. I'm presently facing west in this shot, but yes, this is south in this camera.
And officers are searching that area for evidence of shooting with the flashlights, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that is directly opposite, Sergeant, that orange portion of that wall there, right?
Well,
See
I'm
that?
sorry, what's your question?
That, where the officers are, right there,
Right.
including you, is directly opposite that orange, whatever that thing is, portion of a wall,
Correct.
right? Which is next to that adjacent lot there, right?
Yes.
A vacant lot, I should say. So that's right across from that orange, whatever, correct?
Correct.
All right. I'd like to show you these 2 photographs. One is that, but we're going to put them juxtaposed and put them right side by side. Okay. The first one is basically the still frame of what we just looked at. You see the one on the left?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's you guys right across from that orange wall, we'll call it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the one on the right, with that single individual there, he appears to be standing in that same exact spot. You also start with that orange wall there as well. We can blow that up a little bit, can we? See that, Sarge? See the orange wall on the other side?
I see orange there. I mean, based off this photo, I'll be honest with you, I can't tell much beyond that. I
We'll
see
go back out. There's that vacant lot right there, right?
Right.
You see
Okay.
that?
Yeah, and you know what, the driveway on this side, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So it's basically where that individual is where those officers are, correct?
Approximate, yes, I would say so.
Okay. And so just as we talked earlier about the parking lot where your body cam was, just as in the parking lot, you agree there was no sign of a shooting on the street as well?
Correct.
No blood,
No, sir.
no bullet holes,
No, sir.
no shell casings,
No, sir.
no physical evidence of a shooting was recovered at all?
No, sir.
Directing your attention to 22:37 and 29 seconds. We'll let you play this portion. Go ahead.
We're checking the area. It doesn't look like anybody's hurt or anything like that.
By the way, for the transcript, what you were, anyone what pages? Sorry. Page 2, line 14 of that transcript, which is Defense Exhibit B, please. Sorry, do you have one? The transcript?
I actually do not.
Oh.
No. Okay.
Sorry, you take it full copy. Sorry, I'll give you this copy. It's here, page 2, line 14.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can we, start playing that portion again, maybe go back a few seconds? Okay.
We're checking the area. It doesn't look like anybody's hurt or anything like that.
Okay. So that's one of your, do you know who that was speaking?
I actually don't know.
Okay. Well, one of the officers, right?
Yes.
And you say basically we're checking the area, doesn't look like anyone got hurt, right?
Correct.
And directing your attention to 22:38, which is basically a minute later and 21 seconds.
Got it. Got it, yes. And check every car in the lot. There's nothing, no hits. Wait, who does that? The second PR. Okay, because I got two transients that came up.
This is page 3, Sergeant, and line 4, please. Can you play that portion again, please?
Good. So they were only possible. And check every car in the lot. There's nothing, no hits.
Okay. And then a few seconds later, 22:38:40, which, second, I want to make sure we direct to the right portion of the transcript. Guys. Okay. Next course I'll direct to the same page, page 3, line 20. So line 20. And now we can play that portion. Go ahead.
Gonna be no evidence for now. We can give no evidence.
Okay. So one of the officers, you know who that was speaking, by the way?
I did.
Who was that?
So at the time, Officer John Cook, now Sergeant John Cook.
Sorry, John, okay. He said it's gonna be no evidence for now. We have no victims, no hits, no evidence, right?
Correct.
Now, directing your attention, normal time, directing your attention to 22:40:04. Last page, here, please. Gonna go to page 5, line 2, sorry. Ladies and gentlemen. Page 5, line 2. And go ahead, you could play that one you're ready.
Yeah, it sounds like someone probably fired a shot in the air to scare somebody.
attention to 2240 and 26 seconds, which would be same page, page 5, line 14, sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, no victims as of now, so unless one pops up in the hospital, probably just a warning shot. Okay, you got it.
Okay, and who is that speaking, do you know?
That's also,
Sergeant Cook?
Yes.
John Cook, whatever.
yes,
Again, no victims as of now, unless it pops up in the hospital, it's probably just a warning shot, right?
that's what he said.
And after responding to Lisa Del Mar and Selma Avenue, and carefully searching the scene with your fellow officers, you found no physical evidence of a shooting whatsoever.
That's correct.
And of course, to be clear, that includes no evidence of a shell casing recovery, correct?
Correct, that includes that as
Sorry,
well.
thank you very much for your time.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lewin, anything? Oh, Mr. Sloman, anything?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
All right, Sergeant,
Yes, sir.
you were asked questions, I believe, on Friday, of Mr. Tacopina about your conversations with the DAs on this case. Is that something that customarily happens prior to your testifying?
Yes, it is in every case.
And this incident specifically happened approximately just over 3 years ago, correct?
Correct, yeah.
When you first received a subpoena related to this case, did you immediately know what incident you were even called to testify about?
Absolutely not, no.
Was it of assistance to you in refreshing your memory to be directed to your body worn video from this specific incident?
Absolutely, yes.
In his questioning on Friday and also today, Mr. Tacopina asked you questions about searching for shell casings, I believe is how he phrased them. Are you familiar with the term shells, casings, cartridge cases, things like that?
Yes, sir, I am.
What is your personal background, training, and experience as it relates to firearms?
Well, I have the training I received from the Los Angeles Police Department. I've also attended various trainings outside on my own time related to firearms training, different weapon systems, marksmanship, mostly related, that sort of thing.
In the course of that training that you're talking about, have you, can you even estimate how many rounds of ammunition you fired?
I cannot.
That's a lot, though.
Right.
Okay.
Over the years, yes.
Are you familiar with, just in general, with handguns, the difference between a revolver and a semi-automatic pistol?
I am, yes.
And in very broad terms, what is the difference between those two types of guns?
Well, I think the biggest distinction would be that a revolver operates from a rotating cylinder where it has each individual chambers, usually typically 5 or 6 chambers, where each round, the bullet, sits inside the individual chambers. And when the trigger is pressed to the rear, the cylinder rotates, hammer comes back, strikes the round, discharges the round. Then it continues to rotate. The difference between that and a semi-automatic pistol is all of those rounds are contained in a magazine, and it's magazine fed, so there is no rotating cylinder. Revolvers do not eject those casings the same way a semi-automatic weapon does. Every trigger press with a semi-automatic weapon, a shell casing ejects. And with a revolver, it stays within that chamber, continues to rotate until the weapon is empty, and then you manually eject those casings all at once.
So when you were looking for evidence at this scene specifically of cartridge cases being on the ground, that would be in the expectation that a semi-automatic pistol was used, correct?
Correct.
Because with a semi-automatic, those cartridge cases, once the bullet is fired, come out the side of the gun.
Correct, with every press of the trigger.
Okay. And is that true of all semi-automatic handguns? That's how they operate?
Yes.
Have you personally fired semi-automatic handguns?
Yes, I have.
When you fire, just in your own personal experience, when you fire a semi-automatic handgun, do those cartridge cases always come out in exactly the same trajectory, or do they kind of have a tendency to go in different directions?
The different directions.
Okay. And is it those discarded or used cartridge cases that you would have been looking for that night?
Those are the same ones we're talking about, yes.
Right. Alright. Just to put a fine point on that, when you searched that entire area, the street, the parking lot, you didn't find any car cases anywhere.
No, I didn't.
And none of your 6 other partners who responded there with you observed or recovered any either, correct?
That's also correct.
You were asked questions, or I'm sorry, this, I think you were directed to the transcript, about page 3, lines 4 and 5, where one of your partners says that he checked every car in the lot and there's nothing, no hits, correct?
Correct.
In your experience responding to crime scenes throughout your entire career where a gun has been discharged, what are the types of damage that you would look for on a car, specifically related to a shooting call?
Sure, so, flat tires, glass that's been spiderwebbed, right, or totally blown out, impacts to sides of doors or ricochets off of hoods. These are things that I'm just recalling from recent observations, those sorts of observations.
Are some of those observations easier to see than others?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you describe that for the jury?
Well, I think the best way to illustrate that is you have a white 4-door vehicle. It's easy to see the impact where the paint is missing and the metal is bent and distorted, and whereas if you have a vehicle with a darker colored paint job, you might miss it, right? You might not see it. It might blend in.
But also, even more generally, if a window is shattered, you're gonna see a large shatter in that window, potentially,
Right,
correct?
it's hard to miss.
And if a tire is flat, you know, that's easier to see too, correct?
Yes, it is.
Versus, and I want you to assume for purposes of this that we're talking about the hole from a 9mm chambered round. If you observed a bullet hole in either plastic or metal of a car from a 9mm round, that would be a lot smaller, correct?
Comparatively speaking to other larger rounds, yes.
And even comparatively speaking to if the 9mm hit glass or a tire, correct?
Correct.
If a firearm was fired in a downward trajectory and struck the ground, would you expect the round would either ricochet up into the bottom of the car or potentially fragment into bullet fragments that would then strike the car?
I think both of those scenarios are possible.
Okay. Did you and your partners check the bottoms of cars?
No, we didn't.
In fact, to this point of any damage on the cars, were you or any of your partners, to your knowledge at that scene, familiar with the condition of any of those cars before you responded?
No, we weren't.
So you don't know if any of those cars already had any damage on them, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
You do have defense A?
No.
Okay. I need that video. Do you have it on a DVD or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I can do it on the computer. upper right-hand corner at 223843. Can you see that on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Just to orient the jury as far as where we're looking at here, would you agree the street on the far right of the screen would be Selma, correct?
Correct, that's Selma, that runs east to west.
And then we can just barely see a stop sign, and there's kind of a street directly in front of the officer who's shooting this video, correct? And that would be Vista Del Mar.
Correct, that's Vista Del Mar.
Okay. I want to direct your attention to the handicap parking stalls there. Would you agree that the one closest to the stop sign does not have a car parked in?
Correct.
All right. I'm going to start this from around the beginning.
Hey, Cal, did you hear me?
One second.
Hey.
My apologies, Sergeant. Marked on the transcript, but I'm not sure where that corresponds to on the video. One second.
Hey, can you look at the corner over there? Nobody was playing this down or anything. So, unless one boss in the hospital, probably just a morning shot. Yeah, you got it, sir. Get it.
Sergeant, I can replay this section, but can you hear what sounds like a crowd of people in the background of this video? I'm going to play it starting at 22:40:41. I'll play it forward for a few seconds.
Okay.
Do you hear a number of people's voices in the background? Not officers.
Right, it's distant, but yes.
Okay. Was this a busy area of Hollywood?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Those noises that we hear, would that just kind of be people in the surrounding areas out on Saturday night?
Correct.
I don't have anything else.
Just sort of. Let's go to 22:37:08, please, on that same video. So it's just take that. There's our famous orange wall over there. You see that thing on the left?
Yes, sir.
All right. And right across where you guys were searching, where that individual was before, right across there.
Correct.
There's cars right next to that, right?
Correct.
Okay, bunch of cars on the other side of that orange wall, right?
The rider vans here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there's cars on the other side, I'm saying, of that orange wall, across the street where the officers are.
Right, correct.
Yes, you see those?
Yes.
Okay. And, okay, you could scoot around if you want. Or,
No.
we're done. So you talked about things that you're looking for, flat tires in the car or broken glass, right? Those
Yes, sir.
two. Impacts on side doors, In any event, you found none of that, right?
That's correct.
And by the way, you never received a report of a complainant at any point in this case that the car was damaged, did you?
At the time when I was at scene, I did not.
At any time after, did you become aware?
If somebody had reported it,
Yeah.
unless I handled it myself, I wouldn't have knowledge of it, right, if it was after the fact.
And one last thing, a Glock is one of those semi-automatics that does in fact eject shell casings, right?
Correct, it's a striker firearm.
Thank you.
All right, Sergeant Zizzo, thank you. Thanks for coming back today.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's next witness?
My next witness is Leah Romero.
Okay. Water. Oh, let me mention to you about tomorrow. One of the people involved has a commitment that cannot be avoided. So we're going to start a little early, and we're going to go a little longer. We're going to go 10 to 12:30 tomorrow, but that's going to be it. And then we'll break about 11:15. So be here tomorrow at 10, and then you'll be excused for the day at 12:30. But the following day, normal schedule, 10:30 to noon, 1:30. Okay?
You mind just raising your right hand for us, please? Thank you. You solemnly state the testimony you may give in the cause and output before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Please take a seat on the witness stand there. And please adjust the microphone and state and spell your name for the record.
Leah Elizabeth Martin Brown.
Okay, good luck. You need to raise up your voice.
Sorry. Leah Elizabeth Martin Brown.
Please spell your name for us.
LeahElizabeth.
Thank you.
And
So
Brown,
last
Brown,
name?
common spelling?
Martin-Brown, common spelling.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President, go ahead.
Good morning, this is Martin Brown. Are you, as you sit here right now, are you nervous?
Yes.
Have you ever testified before?
No.
This is an uncomfortable feeling.
Yes.
All right. I'll try to get through it quickly. On Saturday, November 6th of 2021, were you living, or were you in an apartment at 1600 Vine Street in Hollywood?
Yes.
I'm going to show you, let me turn off the TV. There is something that works up there that should work. All C's. I'm also gonna, if you don't mind, can I reach over and just see if I can turn this on? There you go.
And what exhibit are you showing us?
This is People's Exhibit 1, Your Honor, the map. Ms. Martin Brown showing you what I marked as People's Exhibit 1. I'm going to direct your attention towards the bottom. You recognize the area that's depicted in that map?
Yes.
And is the apartment that you were at that evening depicted on this map?
Yes.
Can you point to it for us on the screen behind you? And there should be a stick. Okay. All right, and so she's pointing to the northwest corner of Argyle and Selma. window or a patio area?
Both.
And what street did those windows look out on?
Argyle and then also Selma.
So from the window, you could see the corner of Argyle and Selma?
I could see pretty much all of Argyle and then up until like Selma in the back of Davy Wayne's, which is a club along there.
Where would Davy Wayne's be?
Like around here-ish.
Okay, so you're pointing all the way to the corner of El Centro and Selma, correct?
Yeah.
Was the apartment that you were in, what floor was that on?
The 7th, it was apartment 701.
Okay. So from the 7th floor, you're up high enough that you can see over the buildings there at the northeast corner of Argyle and Selma, correct?
Sorry to interrupt. Well, ask the court, please. Mind the leading a little bit right there.
You know, people's position is it's foundational.
Not the last question.
It's still
Read the last question back. Please.
Okay, so from the 7th floor, you were up high enough that you could see over the buildings that are at the northeast corner of Argyle and Selma, correct?
Sustain. Sustain.
Okay. If I could mark my next exhibit, Your Honor.
6.
Equals 6. One-page document with a single photograph appears to depict the corner of Argyle and Selma. Showing you what I just marked as people 6, do you recognize that street corner?
Yes.
And do you see the building that you were living in this photograph?
Yes.
Can you point to it for us? Alright, I'm gonna zoom in. You're pointing to the building on the far left of the screen. If I can. Alright. The apartment that you were living in that building, was it?
I'm pointing to the exact balcony.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah. This here.
How do you want to describe that? So I would say in the photograph, there are a number of, let's see,
Why don't you bring it up to her, let her circle,
I can do that.
and then put it on the projector.
That's good. Thank you. We'll circle it. I'm gonna ask you to do it one more time with a Sharpie. Doesn't really show up with the ball point.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Putting table 6 back up. The black mark that you made here is the exact document you're talking about, correct?
Correct.
Now, it appears that directly across the street from the building that you were living in, there's a number of buildings on this corner of Argyle and Selma, correct?
Correct.
From your vantage point, could you see over those buildings?
Yes.
Taking you back to People's One, you said you were able to see all the way to Selma and El Centro?
Yes.
That night, so November 6, 2021, at approximately 10:18 p.m., did you call 911?
Yes.
Why did you call 911 that night?
I thought someone had been hurt and I wanted to make sure an ambulance came.
How was it that you thought someone had been hurt?
I saw an altercation and it appeared that there may have been a gun involved. So I thought if someone was hurt, I didn't want them to die, if that had been the case. But again, I was on a 7th floor, so.
How many people were involved in the altercation that you're talking about?
3.
Where was the first place that you saw those 3 people, if you remember?
Walking down Argyle.
walking down Argyle, what street would they have been walking towards?
Selma.
And how far up Argyle, so away from Selma, did you see them? Was there some point of reference that you have?
The parking garage that leads into the El Centro apartments.
Okay. Might be difficult to see here on people's six, but do you see the entrance to the parking garage in this photograph?
Sort of.
Where is it that you sort of see that?
It was a little further up here.
Okay. There's a red,
Indicating on the right-hand side of the photo, halfway up after the first set of cars on the right-hand side of the street.
there's a red sign here that we can see that's vertical. Do you know, does that sign say, if you could read the full thing, does it say parking?
I believe it does, yes.
And would that essentially be the entrance to the parking lot?
Yes,
Maybe a little past that?
it was a little further up that, but
Okay.
yes.
Thank you. What was the first thing that you observed between the interaction of those people that you described?
Again, it was like, I was on a 7th floor balcony. It appeared that they were arguing, and they kind of ducked under the parking structure roof, and there was like some loud yelling, and then they appeared to be fine, but went around the corner into the back parking lot, and then that's where it appeared that there was another kind of issue, and there appeared to be like allegedly a gun drawn, and someone appeared to be shot.
Okay, I want to start at the parking garage. You said you saw these three people arguing outside of the garage. Did you see a firearm at all while they were outside of the garage?
I was on the 7th floor.
I understand your perspective. From the 7th floor, did you see anything that
Not at that
resembled?
time.
Okay. So the only thing that you observed from the area right in front of the parking garage was arguing? Is that what you're saying?
They seemed to go sort of underneath the roof. There may have been like something physical, but it was obscured by predominantly it was obscured by the roof.
Did you see any physical contact between those men?
Very briefly before underneath, but again, I don't want to speak on that any further.
Thank you. And I'm not asking you to speculate on anything that you're saying happened when you couldn't see them, but from the point that you could see them, what physical contact was it that you saw?
Someone appeared to grab someone.
Were there any, where on the person who was grabbed, where on their body were they grabbed?
I'm not sure, I was too far away.
Did you see any punches thrown or anything like that?
I've said what I saw.
Okay.
I don't really.
Thank you. You saw one person grabbed and then they,
And then they kind of went underneath there's like a roof thing that obscured things.
all right, fair to say while they were under this roof or overhang, you couldn't see them, correct?
Correct.
When you next saw any of the individuals involved in that scuffle, where was that person going?
The three of them appeared to, again, I couldn't identify who was who. They just all looked like equal to me. I just saw them all in a group walking towards Selma.
Were all three of them bunched together, or was there any separation between the three of them?
I can't really accurately recall.
Okay. As you saw them walking towards Selma, could you hear anything that was happening between them?
No.
Did you hear even any raised voices, even if you couldn't make out exactly what was said?
Prior to that, yes, but at that stage, no.
When you say prior to, do you mean at the parking garage?
Yes.
Okay. So you heard arguing at the parking garage, but you didn't hear any arguing as they went down Argyle?
No.
When these three did it appear to you that they were all men?
It did appear that they were all men.
Okay. Is there anything else distinct about them that you could describe?
No.
when they, could you even tell the race of these people?
It was dark, I don't know.
Okay. So when these three men got to the corner of Argyle and Selma, where did you see them go?
I saw them turn, from my perspective, left, and then into it's kind of like a parking lot behind these buildings.
Okay. I still have people 6 displayed up on the screen here. Can you see the direction that they went in this photograph?
Yes.
And where would, if you could take the pointer, just kind of show us where they walked down Argyle and which way they went down Selma. Okay, so Your Honor, I would say she's describing walking southbound on Argyle towards Selma on the east side of the street, and then making a left turn and staying on the north sidewalk of Selma, headed eastbound. So you're describing them walking past this building out of view, correct?
They weren't out of view for me.
My apologies, that was not a great question. It would have been off of this
Yes.
photograph, correct? So if I take you back to People's One, what you described was them walking south on Argyle, making a left on Selma, and continuing on Selma, correct?
Yes, and turning into like a parking lot area.
And as they were walking on Selma, could you still see all three of the men that you've been describing?
Yes.
Did you hear anything between them at that point while they were on Selma?
No.
Did you see any interactions between them while they were on Selma?
No.
You said they got all the way to the corner of Vista Del Mar, correct?
From my vantage point, it appeared that they went into the parking lot area. I'm not entirely sure what the street is called. I just know that it's behind the El Centro apartments.
Okay. If it's marked here as Vista Del Mar, does that sound accurate to you?
If that's marked as that, then I suppose it is accurate.
Okay. And you know that there's a parking lot at that corner of
Yes.
Vista Del Mar and Selma?
Yes.
So you said, what you described was they walked into the parking lot, correct?
Yes.
Where did you see them go from the parking lot?
I saw them in the parking lot, and then they had what appeared to be an altercation, and then everyone left.
Can you describe what you mean when you say they had an altercation?
Again, this was a long time ago. I can only speak on what I can remember. It appeared that they had some kind of disagreement. There was what appeared to be like a firearm pull. There appeared to be shots, and then people ran away.
The initial altercation that you're talking about, what was the first thing that you observed?
I can't recall.
Okay. The person that you observed with the gun, where was that person in relation to the two other people?
Closer to the El Centro apartments than Selma.
Just to let you know, we're gonna break in a minute. Now, why don't we take a break now? All right, folks, we're gonna break now. Please be outside the court doors at 1:30, as close to that time as possible. We will resume with Ms. Martin Brown's testimony. Please do not discuss the case amongst yourselves or anybody else.